Well, a warm welcome and of course, huge thank you for everyone that's here. We are actually super happy and thankful that you have joined us today, really. But before we start, let's just take 10 to 15 seconds to read this, I would say, quite cool quote from a client of us. It's actually from the sales team. And this is also why you're here and what we want to help you with. We want you to become the, let's say, the superhero for sales. So yeah, have that in mind.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice quote to hear from the sales team.
Yeah, I would say so. So before we start, maybe we can give the audience a short introduction. My name is Pauline. I'm one of the founders of InZynk. I've been working with B2B sales and marketing for the last 20 years. For the last 12 years, I've been in the, let's say, the ABM tech space. And at InZynk here, I work with, mainly work with clients. Yeah.
Brilliant. And my name is Christopher. I work as an account-based marketing advisor and also project manager in the different client projects that we have. So holding their hand and hopefully bringing some good advice to the conversation. I've been doing this for more than 10 years, and apart from maybe running, this is my favorite topic to discuss. And I don't think we're here for running, so let's kick off with the topic for today.
Yeah, sounds good. So in today's session, we will talk about the marketer's reality, a more general view of ABM and what we at InZynk think ABM is the best fit. And of course, what you should think about when choosing the right accounts for a ABM program. And we will give you some tips to how to get the attention from sales and how you can, as a marketer, really buddy up with them. And in the end, we will have a session with a Q&A round. And of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to write them in the comments, and then we can answer all of them at the end of the webinar. But Christopher, maybe you can share some insights from working with marketers during the years and how you think that their reality looks like.
You would be quite surprised if I said no, Paul. I won't share. No, of course. I'd love to walk you through the marketeer's reality, basically. And of course, I realize that the reality is much more complex than what we kind of present today. Of course, we have very short in time, so we have to keep it quite short. But based on our findings and experiences, if we look at the budget perspective and also the KPI perspective, it's often very focused on the early funnel stages and activities tied to top of funnel, early funnel, more of a lead focus. It's prospect focus, contacts, events, etc. You got to have those leads, which is probably the most important KPI for many marketeers today. Well, I think if we then move into what we have called silos here, I think this is also one of the reasons to today's misalignment between sales and marketing. At least from what I see and over the years, it's very clear silos. It's a big gap between the different departments, and the collaboration between the teams is oftentimes the actual lead handover. So when sales are getting the lead from marketing, that's essentially what they have to do, with the respective teams. And after that, it's sales territory. And I find that many marketeers are not even allowed to support those accounts and those deals once sales are working on that account. And I find that many marketeers they don't even have visibility into sales pipeline. So they can't really see what happens beyond that lead phase. And if I speak from my own perspective, I find that this is quite frustrating. And I think many of us can agree that status quo is not working. We're not getting closer together between the different teams, quite the opposite in many cases. And particularly in larger B2B deals, which is where our clients are, that's the reality of our clients particularly. I just had to let someone in here, sorry. Where the complexity is really high and the complexity just continues to grow and the buying committees are growing all the time. I find that there's so much that marketing can offer in that very tough environment from a sales perspective for the actual deals that sales are working on, which to me is also quite ironic, because when we talk to account executives in the sales silo, they express very, very often that they think that their brand is invisible, not known out there. And even if they come from a known brand, they are very often wrongly positioned to the actual conversation that they currently have with the clients. So they're known for something else than what they're trying to accomplish today. And what's very evident is that a lot of account executives and key account managers are also struggling to influence and reach all stakeholders inside these enterprise accounts. And I said that this is quite ironic because all of these things that the sales team expressed to us, all of this marketing can easily do to the accounts that sales prioritize the most, that matter the most for your organization. Like if we just look at it visually, it's like a two-piece puzzle that fits perfectly. So it shouldn't really be that hard, but we find that a lot of marketeers are really limited into only work with top funnel stuff, and it's a no-go zone for when sales are actually working on the account. And let's spend some time in this session to hopefully try to bridge that, and hopefully we can come with a few tips how to solve that as well.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't agree more. And this slide here actually shows what we think ABM is all about. It is when marketing and sales are working together as a team towards their top accounts. And I and you would say that this is quite crucial if you want to succeed with ABM. And also the audience here, you might have heard many different takes on ABM. Maybe some of you have different experiences. And again, Christopher, can you try to tell us a little bit more about the different approaches when it comes to ABM and what you think are the keys to success, and also maybe a little bit about why some plans sometimes fail?
Absolutely. I think this is a very important slide. It does include some different things. So we will spend a little bit of time to walk you through this and clarify a little bit what Paul meant as well in terms of success versus failure, because we do see that many ABM programs do fail, and at least based on our experiences, it's quite clear when they fail. So hopefully we can share those things with all of you so that you can kind of avoid it. For us at least, it sounds quite logical. So hopefully that resonates with you as well. But just like Paul said, there's different approaches to account-based marketing, and it's often those different approaches are often referred to as one-to-one, that you can see here on the right-hand side of the slide. We have one-to-few and one-to-many, which essentially is about the level of customization and importance of the account. So the more important the account is, the higher up it goes. And if it's really important, it kind of makes sense also to customize more specifically for that account. And we can take a concrete example. We can look at advertising. So in the one-to-one play, you have one account, and then you fully customize the ads and the messaging specifically for that account, fully in line with what happens on the field in the current dialogues from a sales perspective. So then, to go back to what Paul just said, you both have the teamwork, sales and marketing as a team, and also for the most important accounts, the top accounts that you have. If we then move down to one-to-few, you will have one ad that will be served to a group of accounts or a cluster of accounts. As an example, you will have an industry-led message that will then be served to a group of accounts within that industry. And then you have the one-to-many, where you have one oftentimes very generic ad that will be served to maybe hundreds of different accounts. You can think of maybe a standard LinkedIn type of advertising. You have one ad that will be served to many different ones. And I think that I would probably argue that the one-to-many play, you can call it ABM, but I would say that this is very much what most marketeers are already doing today, but they're kind of just trying to put an ABM stamp on the actual activity. But I think it's probably a mistake to expect different outcomes than what you have previously had. And I think one of the most important things here also to remember and that we want to stress is that account-based marketing came from the one-to-one play, the strategic ABM, and it became so successful that scaled versions were introduced to make ABM more available to more accounts, and you can do much more. So there's going to be less quality the further down you go in this, but you can fit more accounts into the program. And I think here's really where a lot of companies do fail. I would at least not suggest to start scaling until you've done it right first. So it's important to get the salespeople and your organization fired up and start seeing the results, and then have them come and ask for more, because then we really know that we're doing it right. And then we can have that conversation and set the expectations right as well, because we do have a less qualitative approach, so you can't expect the same things. So then we can be in agreement with what we're trying to do. But I find that it's quite convenient, if you will, for some marketeers to start with a one-to-many approach, because, well, it's quite similar to what they've always done. And they don't really have to involve sales to just throw up a quite big list of accounts and start going after them. And we certainly think it's okay to start small, but it's important then to start at the right end. Because if you just do marketing to a big list of accounts, you don't have the sales and marketing alignment, you're not working as a team, and you're not doing it to the most important accounts. So it's very, very different to what ABM is really all about. Yeah. So just to summarize a pretty long monologue here, start at the very top, make it right, and then you can start to scale when the organization is mature for it.
Yeah, I also think it makes perfect sense to start with a one-to-one approach, which of course take us to the next step here. We see the slides. How do we choose the right accounts? And here again, I think we could start easily. Just start talking together. Here, marketing can really help sales navigate to help them choose the right accounts with some tips. when it comes to sales and marketing alignment and how you can get their attention, there are some things that you should focus on. So to nail this and get success, make sure that number one, the account is really prioritized by sales, meaning that this is an account that really matters for them. And of course, the account should have some potential in terms of closing and also in terms of value. And one important thing here is that it should not be a cold account. So make sure when you're choosing the account that sales have initiated some kind of dialogue or discussion with the account. So those are 3 simple tips that will help you start the dialogue and make them understand that you as a marketer can really help them win more deals. Are there anything you would add here?
Well, hopefully you have many accounts that fit these criteria. But I think these 3 points are really, really valid. And if you do have many accounts that fits this description, then of course you have to prioritize which matter the most if you want to start just with maybe a few accounts. You can also have different budget allocations to the different accounts depending on the priority and everything. But apart from that, I just really, really want to stress the importance of getting sales on board, because this is a teamwork. And I find in order to get their attention and the proper engagement from them, it's really crucial to select accounts, just like you said, Paul, that are really important to them. Because if we go towards accounts that are not important to them, we're not going to get the attention. They won't care. Just harsh but true. And we find that it's equally important also to show sales that we can bring things to the table for their most important accounts that they cannot do on their own, so that we can actually complement them in a way. And if we can get to that stage, we will have their attention and we can make wonders together.
Well said.
Was trying to fit something around superheroes, so Wonder Woman, and here we have something else. But just to visualize that a little bit as well, in terms of creating wonders together and using the different strengths that we have, and on the topic of really getting sales attention, we can just recap a little bit to the sales challenges that they generally have in larger B2B deals. You all know about the very complex environment, about the growing number of stakeholders involved, the buying committees, the importance of getting consensus internally, that they are wrongly positioned and everything like that. And studies suggest that account executives normally can identify approximately 30% of the total buying committee. So that there's a lot more people inside the buying organization than you can actually identify and meet and get on board. And if we could make sure to really reach and influence everyone in there, then of course we would have the upper hand. And this is really one of marketing's superpowers, I think. The ability to extend the reach and the positioning to all people involved on the buying side, beyond sales contacts. Even if we don't know them by name or who they are, we can still reach and influence that organization in a much broader way, but still tied to the insights and the conversation that sales are having on the field. So if we can start mirroring and strengthening sales messages that they are doing on the field, but through marketing and to more people and more often, so that we can create this sense that you are really seen as the thought leader, you are visible, you're well known, you're correctly positioned to all, then we can certainly do very, very good things together. And if we can get that across to sales, that this is something that we can help them with, we can actually do a lot of things that they cannot do on their own, then we will have their attention and their engagement. And you will be in sync.
Yeah. And just to add to what you said, I from my own experience, I get quite surprised almost every week when I talk to sales in B2B that there are superpowers out there that can help them in their pipeline, and it's almost every time a wow factor. So there you have something to add, dear marketers. This session went quite fast, and if you try to somehow summarize what we have talked about, there are something in the slides you can see here, and the number one is that try to explain to sales that you as a marketer with today's ABM tech can give them, I would say, quite important insights from each accounts that they are chasing, and also that you can help them, like Christopher said, with reach and influence many more formal and informal stakeholders within the accounts than they are able to do on their own. And number two is that you as a marketer must dare to think deals, and that you should trust your abilities, that you really can impact the business outcome for the sales team and also for your company, and not just doing traditional handing over leads. And this doesn't need to be a huge change. It doesn't need to take years. You can start small, start with one sales rep and one account, and try out with that, and then you can add and move on from there.
Just follow Paul's description of the 3 points, and then you'll be all right. Yeah. But I think that it's really, I find it's really difficult to fail if we follow those kind of descriptions in terms of selecting the account, because how can you go wrong if you are marketing towards the most important accounts that you have for the organization that matter the most, and we are in sync with sales. We talk about the key messages that they want to push and communicate to that very account, and we do that to more people and more often than they can. So we're fully in sync with sales. It's really difficult to fail in that environment if you go for the most important accounts and do the one-to-one approach. That's certainly our experience.
Yeah. So what do we call this? This is our favorite part of the session, the Q&A round. And as you said, just please throw us any questions and we will try to answer your thoughts. I'm not sure, have you received any questions yet during this session?
I think I saw something coming in here now. Yes, let's. I'll just read the question, and then Paul, you can decide who answers it. How can you really show value to sales more than impressions, visits, and clicks?
There are different ways to show this value, of course, but it starts with what you decide before you go into this project. As a marketer, when you talk to sales, you should definitely not measure these traditional marketing metrics that you're used to. You should focus much more on the business outcome, and it can be going more into the sales process that you already started. Of course, one thing can be deal closing, and those things can, of course, be measured. Other things, maybe you have Christopher to add.
Yeah, I think that one of the core values, if we talk about value to sales, is what marketing can bring that they cannot do on their own. So really talking to sales and aligning on that, what we can bring to the table. And I tend to ask the account executive, as an example, like how many people do you actually talk to within this account? And they might say, well, I talked to 7 people. And then we can see that, well, actually there's 37 people that are proactively coming to your website, which means it's probably even more than 37 people that will be involved somehow in the organization. So we can have a conversation with sales that the buying committee is much larger than the people that you engage with. Hence, the importance of really making sure to reach more people inside that organization. And if we can get that across to sales, they typically really see that value that we can strengthen their messages, but to all the right people and more often than they can on their own. So it's just about an on-field and digital perspective, and we do it together in that way. I find that that's really, really helpful. And I can see that we have another question coming in as well. Very, very good questions, by the way. How do you measure progress and sales sync over time in an ABM project? The question even got 2 likes, so I think this is an important question to ask and to answer. And I can see that we don't have too much more time, but I think let's certainly spend a few minutes on it. As for the sales sync, I would say you will notice quite clearly what sales think about the program. We can go back to the initial quotes that we had on the first slide. Many salespeople express that this is, the best program that we have together with marketing. Most salespeople are not used to actually talking about deals and revenue with marketing. So it's a very refreshing type of program. And there's a saying, if sales are coming and asking for more, you know that you're doing it right. So in terms of the sales sync, that will be pretty evident if they like that approach, if you will. And in terms of progress, it's slightly more difficult to answer because there's going to be different progress that we aim for per account, depending on the current situation and the status quo for each and every account. Some you might be in the later stages and you want to close and win. Others you want to accelerate inside that journey. But it's all about making that progress towards revenue. And that is something that we measure together between sales and marketing, that we are making the right things and going forward. Very, very short, and there's much more to say on that question, but very, very happy to further discuss because I can see that we are half past.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining the webinar. And if you want to know more about ABM, have any questions, or want to maybe book a free workshop with InZynk, Christopher or me, please just get in touch.
Yeah, and there's for those who have stuck around, there's a new comment here from Tobias. Sales need to be involved in developing the messaging and also in execution. They can't lean back and expect marketing to execute everything. I think I couldn't agree more, Tobias, and very well put final words. I think this is extremely important. You need to work in parallel, in sync, together throughout the program. It's not a marketing only activity for sales to lean back. And that's why it's so important to pick accounts that are important to them, that they are also working on continuously, because then they won't lean back. Very, very nice comment, Tobias.
Wise words.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.